In this episode of the Sewing Report, we're talking to two ladies who have launched a book to help encourage people to get social while they're sewing and crafting. All right, so with me, we're going to do another one of these little sewing chats, and I've got two lovely ladies joining me. This is Jacqueline Sava and Karyn Valino, and they're friends, and they've also teamed up to write a book called Handmade Getaway that kind of walks you through the process if you want to have a get-together with friends and do some sewing and crafting. They're going to tell us all about it. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Hi.
Now, Jacqueline, I met you a couple of years ago at QuiltCon. You were super nice, and you are the owner of Soak, which is a line of laundry care products. And can you ladies kind of introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. I'm Jacqueline, and my company is Soak Wash, and we make soap, which is a wash for delicates. So that means lingerie, swimwear, knitting, quilts, obviously any handmade sewn garments, anything delicate that you care enough about to hand wash, and you can also machine wash on the gentle cycle with it. And I met Karyn when I first brought a soap order to the Workroom when she was just opening it.
Yeah, so I'm Karyn, and I own the Workroom, which is a sewing shop here in Toronto. We sell fabric, and we do classes, and we do social events here too, and that's how most of our group actually met each other. So.
Yeah.
That is so neat. And Karyn, I was reading your bio online, and you have quite an interesting, varied background. I saw you took a neon sign making class. You're a photographer. So both of you ladies are obviously very multifaceted. And in fact, Jacqueline, so I've tried Soak products before as well. They're amazing. And one thing I like about them is I'm not usually into smelly stuff. Usually I find the smell is kind of like artificial or whatever. The Soak products just smell so amazing. Like for the first time, I've actually enjoyed using products with like a fragrance in it. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, we work really hard to develop the fragrances. We come from a skincare background, so we put a lot of time and energy into testing not only the fragrance, but how much of the fragrance you need in each of the different products.
Well, they're so awesome, and I will link to both Soak and the Workroom if our viewers are interested. And can you kind of talk us through so obviously the book that you guys are launching, you're doing a Kickstarter. It's doing really well so far. We're only in day 2 so far, and you guys are already pretty well funded, right?
We are 50% funded.
Woohoo! And 2 days in.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I would not have won the bet if I had put the bet out. Well, I mean, we exceeded what I would have put as my crazy high bet for day 1. But yeah, we were at 35%, I think, at day 1, and then we've kind of climbed up there again today on day 2, which is not over yet. So
it's exciting.
And if our eyes flip up while we're talking, it's because my iPad just keeps having the pop-ups when people pledge rewards.
All right. Well, that's never a bad thing. We can work with that. And I do want to ask, how did you come up with this idea?
Well, after a few years of hanging out at the Workroom and meeting some really great women, one summer I was at the cottage with Ted, and I brought my sewing machine, and he brought his RC cars and stuff to work on, and I was sewing outside, and I just thought, this is the greatest thing ever. How come I've never done this? And I thought, I need to bring people here to do this. So the next year, I invited Karyn and a few other women that I had met at the Workroom, and I didn't know them very well. That's what's nice about Getaways, is we were I was like, they seem like really interesting, cool people, and I'm going to get to know them by taking them away for a week.
Yeah. It was a good bonding experience for sure.
That is really neat.
Yeah, and so we just sort of set, everyone bring a lunch, everyone bring a dinner, everyone bring a breakfast, and, bring your sewing stuff, and let's see what happens. And so over the years, we've kind of perfected those skills. Maybe not perfect, but we've improved on them.
And how long have you been doing these little getaways?
6 or 7
years.
6 or
7 years. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I watched your trailer video for the book, and I was looking at your photos. I gotta say, I feel like a bit of a hot mess next to the two of you, because your photos and it's just like the most Pinterest worthy thing I've ever seen. You guys look like you're having a great time. You have beautiful projects. You're sewing outside in the woods. I don't know. It's just very it's very aspirational, and I feel like I do not hold a candle to your getaways. But that's what the book is for. Is you're going to show people a little bit about how to get some of that. But I do want to ask, the sewing outside. Do you guys bring extension cords out there? What do you It looks like a fun time to sew outside. I've never tried to bring my sewing machine outdoors.
Part of the organization, you need extension cords, you need a power cord, you need a separate power cord for your iron because it draws more current.
Yeah.
And you know, when my husband Ted was rewiring the cottage, it's my parents' cottage. It's really old. It had like old fuses when we first started, and when he was redoing the electrical panel, he put an outlet outside for us so that we could just plug in right outside by the picnic table. So
That's a big help.
Okay, that's a good tip. So if you want to have like your like a crafting and sewing getaway, you need outdoor power and lots of outlets inside too. I think that would help.
Or those power cords that you have for mowing the lawn that are like 50 feet long. You need one of those.
You need one of those. Well, it just looks
and
so
good quality ones.
It looks so incredible. And who does the cooking on these things?
Everybody.
Yeah, well, we started a schedule where we divide up the food and the responsibilities, and we've learned tricks like make sure there's a day where you have no food responsibilities, so you can just get up, be served like coffee, tea, or hot chocolate, breakfast, snacks, lunch, dinner, and just get to sew all day. So some of us have started, you know, doing our 2 or 3 meals in one day, so we know we get to be pampered the other days.
It's a good system.
Yeah. And we've realized that we also have to print out the food schedule and bring it with us because we get so into it that we forget whether it's our, you know, day to serve. And that way you don't have to ask, you to look on the chart and you're like, oh yeah, I'm on dinner prep. So around 3 o'clock, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and start prepping dinner. So.
Hey, those are really good tips. And I got to say, like, I think sewing and crafting and quilting, they're just activities that are almost better in groups, I think. So I really like that you are kind of showing people the social aspect. In fact, a friend of mine from college she recently started quilting, and I noticed she started organizing these like little social Saturdays where she would have people over, you know, they'd have snacks, they would be able to get, you know, kind of get together and do things. And also they would do like a project, like make little throw pillows. So I think especially, you know, I know a lot of us in the sewing and crafting industry are trying to figure out how to get younger people involved, how to get new people that are interested in crafts and handwork and handmade things. And I think this is a really good vehicle to do that because, you know, again, a lot of people might go out to a bar and spend their Friday night. But you know what? Instead, why not do something more meaningful? I know we've all had those, you know, but I think this is a really more meaningful way to spend time with people. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We also, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say we're super bonded all of the time that we spend together sewing because you can really connect.
And you also bring, like, we often bring things that we don't know how to do or projects that we're afraid of. It's a really good opportunity to have your cheerleaders right there. So I wanted to do a lot of sort of sashiko style hand sewing. And Katrina, our friend, is the hand sewing expert. So I just like brought everything. I was like, okay, this morning is my hand sewing day, lesson time, you know. Or if you have something that you just really don't want to, you want to finish, but you don't want to finish because you know it's a lot of work or a whole bunch of curves that are really hard. It's a good time to have your peeps there with you to kind of cheer you on and help you get through a project.
Give you some tips.
All right. That the support the community. I think that's awesome. And, you know, I got to say, like, after looking at your book and reading all the materials, I'm like, man, I sew a lot like by myself at home alone, you know, and at some point I do want to try to have more socialization with other people. You know, just because I think sometimes and even in your trailer, you said, you know, or it could just be you locked in your sewing room for a few hours. I think some of us can get to the point where it's almost too much like that, where we're alone too much and we're not really socializing with other people.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why in the book, there's, you know, having a sewing day, a weekend, or a week. It doesn't have to be a big excursion. You could just invite people over for an afternoon. But things like food and snacks are really different if you just have a day or a weekend. If it's just a day or a quick sewing session, you want to have things that are prepared. You want to have things that are just plated and ready to serve. You don't want to be spending a lot of time cooking because you don't want to waste your time.
That's a good point. Easy things, probably no finger foods. You don't want to get your fingers too dirty while you're doing things. I want to ask you, Karyn and Jacqueline, what kind of handmade crafts and activities do you both enjoy?
Obviously, we're sewing a lot these days. I have the young twins, so my pile of sewing activities is a little underloved. That's why I cherish the getaways, because I get a lot of time into sew. But on my list right now, I have some beautiful Alice in Wonderland linen cotton fabric to cover a little mini sofa for the babies. Some embroidery. I started an embroidery project at TNNA this weekend, and then I have a new named pattern. Yeah, a new named cardigan pattern. I believe the one that Karen's wearing right now. So I have for that. And there's a lot of New Jersey that showed up in the store, so I am craving like 6 more linen sweatshirts. And then of course the Workroom has a new class on making rope bowls, which I totally want to do as well. So there's always a pretty long list of things to do. And then also for us, it's about when we're penciling in our next getaway, because we do two a year, so we like to get it on the calendar so we can start putting projects aside for that. There's also things in the book that aren't sewing. There's a block printing project as well, cyanotype. There's a lot of things that are crafty and messy that we do on getaways when we're outside. We're not making a mess in our own living rooms. We make a mess on the deck outside. So there's lots of those kind of experimental kind of things that we often take with us when we get away, because you want more people to do it and more hands and more people reading instructions and trying to figure stuff out. What does this sentence really mean in these instructions for this supply that we've never used?
All right.
I tend to do a lot of clothing. That's my favorite thing to sew. So I'm always at least working on a few different clothing projects. I've got a Sloan sweatshirt that I'm working on right now that I'm trying to finish. And then what else do I have on my list? I have a lot of I'm feeling like a lot of knitted cozy things right now. I think just obviously because of the winter.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's cold up there in Toronto, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was minus 14 Celsius today. So it's chilly. Yeah. So tons of clothing, cardigans. I've been doing a lot of sewn cardigans this year too, which are super fun. And then pants. Got into pants this year too, which are challenging but awesome.
Well, you can see, as you can kind of tell from the background, I'm not afraid of a little bit of a mess. But I wanted to keep it real. I was like, should I clean up? I was like, I'll maybe clear some stuff out. But, sometimes you just want to keep it real,
That's pretty normal.
I know, right? And, plus I'm working on something right now that's kind of hard to clean up and put away. So I'm like, whatever. But so the book, obviously is doing obviously the demand is there and people are very interested. So you mentioned a couple of the projects in the book. So I imagine there's some sewing and quilting projects, maybe you said some block printing. So
this quilt behind us is
look. And
it's
isn't that one of your Kickstarter rewards as well?
So that's our medallion quilt, and it is made up of blocks that were contributed by a bunch of different designers. And we put it together, and so that's it's up for a reward. If someone really wants it, they can buy it.
It's sort of a choose your own adventure style quilt, so you can pick which blocks you want and which rings of the medallion, and then build it from there. So sometime in the future, when the Kickstarter's done and the books are shipped, we'll do a medallion sew along.
Ooh, I like that. So can you break down kind of if people are getting this book, what is in the book? How did the chapters break down, and what sort of content is in there?
So it starts with anticipation because it's all about planning. So the first section has all of your charts and spreadsheets and tips and emergency tool lists, food charts, packing lists, things like that we've learned over time. And all the chapters are broken out by fabric, food, and friends. So fabric is obviously project-based. Food is tips and tricks and strategies around meal planning, chip o'clock, stuff like that. And friends is all the things about the logistics of personal travel. So how to get there, who does what when. And then, so the anticipation projects are planning projects, tool tags.
Labeling things. Things don't get mixed up.
Notebook covers. Pillowcase is a great project because we learned at our winter cottage retreat that we were spending a lot of time doing laundry before we left to make sure sheets clean. And this way now we all have our pillowcases we've made and we bring our own sheets, and that way we just take them off the bed and off we go, and save some time that way. Then it goes through time. So one day, so if you just have a day, and the projects kind of align with that as well. So there's a different kind of project that you can get done if you just have a day or an afternoon than if you have an entire week. So the kind of project you're talking about that you have on the go where you can't pick it up or you don't want to is a great project for a long weekend or a week, because you could work on it either all day straight or over several days without having to move it. Whereas you're not going to pack it up if you're just going to sew for an afternoon. So then after a day is a weekend, a long weekend and a week. And again, the projects kind of progress from there. And there's individual projects, because we do sometimes spend 4 or 5 hours not talking to each other at all and just getting into whatever we're doing.
And eating.
You're just very focused.
You can be very focused and just, hours go by. Someone will be like, I'm hungry. And the chips and snacks will just, appear on the table, or
there's always snacks
or cocktails or something like that. And then there's group activities as well. So little sewing machine maintenance lesson from Karyn, who's running a dealer. So you can do that on a Friday night over a long weekend, and then you're not wasting time on the weekend worrying about your machine. The block printing is a group activity, some improv placemat activities.
Cyanotype is one of the group activities.
And then there's some mini projects too. So there's a big picnic blanket, and then there's also a mini project for how to just use the templates and make a placemat out of it. So there's a mix of like quick projects. So you really don't have to, the book is about planning a getaway, but you can also use it as a great resource for sewing projects at home. It's not, all the projects don't obviously have to be done on a getaway.
Well, I'm so excited for this book. Again, it looks beautiful. The photography is amazing. And I think the projects look really fun. And Karyn, I want to ask you, as the owner of a space where people come to make things, have you noticed, the people that are coming that are very new to it, like just very beginner, just interested, curious beginners, what do you think is kind of drawing people to make things?
I think a lot of people just want to have that handmade, that satisfaction of making something by hand. Some people feel that they are disconnected from that kind of stuff, and that they are, they become, worried that they don't know how to like sew on a button or like hem their pants, so even just do like really basic things, and then they just get excited about the possibility of being able to see something or imagine something and then just be able to make it themselves. So I think it's a really empowering thing to learn, and I think that's really exciting for people, especially when they spend so much time with like devices. The idea of just like
on YouTube here, I don't know anything about
something
that.
really tactile. It's just so exciting,
Well, I totally agree. Are you seeing a lot of younger people too at the Workroom?
Oh,
that's awesome.
Well, yeah, our demographic is probably 20s to mid 30s is the majority of our customers. So it's a very young clientele, which is
very
awesome.
neat. Do you see any guys in there?
We do see guys,
Yay!
but they're not as many for sure.
Not
but
as many.
Guys that are into it are really enthusiastic. So it's always fun to have them in class and in the space.
One of our local teachers at the Workroom, Dee, has a pattern in the book as well, because we have a giant tote bag, which is an essential part of a getaway. And since he had such a great design, we asked him if we could use it in the book rather than making up something new. So we've got some solid guide sewers in our book as well.
All right. And that's one thing that I think that's one message I try to, spread, is that sewing is not just for, a certain demographic. It's not just for women. It's not just for, people over 50. It can be for everyone. And I think there's something about, making things with your hands it's just so rewarding and so satisfying. And I think that's obviously the message we all want to spread to people. So I think it's really neat that you guys are doing this, because I do think I think having that social aspect to it could really help encourage people to try it.
Yeah, it's really fulfilling to be able to share it with other people. I think that's, there's so much satisfaction in being able to have someone recognize that, hey, did you make that? And like recognize the work that went into it, and be able to help you with your problems with the project, or
even with clothing, like learning how to fit something. I mean, that's something that we definitely do on the getaways is, help me adjust this pattern so it fits my body really well. So there's a pro tip about if you're making dresses or clothing, make sure you bring the proper bra and shoes if you're going to do a dress, because you can't fit a bodice properly if you don't have the proper foundation garments. So, and generally, you're wearing your comfy clothes at the cottage, so you're not putting on your best lingerie, your best fitted lingerie. So even things like that are in the book that you might not think of, but it's really important, because if you're at home sewing, you can go grab, your heels or whatever if you want to try on a skirt length. But if you didn't bring them with you and you went away, there's not a lot that your friends can do to help simulate.
Well, you don't bring your heels to the cabin, Jacqueline.
I don't bring my good bras either. But,
I know, right? Like, all right, this is making me feel better about myself already.
Exactly, yeah. But you need to if you want to work on something, because we've had, it's a great opportunity to try out a dress pattern is a perfect example of something that you want to work on when you have an entire day of uninterrupted sewing and lots of space to spread out and trace your pattern, and have like 5 people who know how to put a zipper in better than you there to help. Yeah. Because sometimes those patterns can be tricky, or there can just be something that's a little unclear. And so it's a great opportunity to work like that. And then you want to do some custom fitting at the end, because that's what makes making your own clothing great, is making it fit. I'm always lengthening things. So I'm always adding a few extra inches here or there in a dress pattern, and then you have to redraw your darts if you do that. So making sure that you're prepared for that is really important, because there's nothing worse than, going for a day of sewing at your friend's house and then realizing that you forgot something that you wanted to have with you and then not being able to finish your project. So
that is so true. And sometimes it helps to have a buddy with you, like if you're trying to fit something or you need someone to measure you, so I think having somebody there, or maybe they know a technique you don't and they can teach you. So I think this is such a good thing to be encouraging people to do. I'm super excited. So if people support the Kickstarter, can you tell us a little bit about some of the rewards you guys are offering? I think you have some pretty unique things. Like the one was like trip for like several people to like a resort in Texas or something. So you have some things that are kind of different and cool.
Yeah. We've worked, we're learning a lot about Kickstarter. We've worked really hard. So that's our top level reward you're talking about. And it's a all-inclusive getaway for 10 people to Maker's Luck, which is a retreat center in Dripping Springs, Texas. And it's a beautiful house, and it's a giant workshop studio. And
it's got a huge pool. We're very excited about that idea.
I always try to swim every day at the cottage, even if just for 20 minutes. And then we'd be there, and you'll get copies of the book, and you can kind of work on whatever you want, and all the food's taken care of. So you just get the opportunity to sew. So we're hoping 10 friends will get together and get that reward.
I think what's cool about that reward is it's about like gathering a bunch of people together and saying like, hey, let's do this together. Like, let's put our money together for this reward and organize your own getaway. I think that's kind of what we're trying to encourage people to do. So I think it's kind of awesome.
Maybe they'll invite you two to go along with them too. Hey,
that doesn't sound bad. We've invited ourselves.
Yeah, it's 10 plus 2. Yeah.
All right. I looked at, because I Googled the place. I was like, I've never heard of this place. It looks incredible. The photos, like the pool, very relaxing, especially for like, you two are obviously very, very busy people. Jacqueline, you've got twins. So I think having some sort of getaway or some sort of time to recharge is really important.
Yeah. That's for us as well.
Yeah.
That reward is aspirational. Go get it.
Yeah. So whoever gets that reward, invite the 3 of us and we'll come hang out with you too. So just saying, just a suggestion here,
And that space is relatively new. It's owned by a former fabric shop owner, and she had her shop, and she knew she really wanted a place for community. And so she put that space together. And so it's really only been open for maybe a year or so. So we took the opportunity to help her promote it as well by offering it through the Kickstarter. So it's a great collaborative reward.
And I've been seeing more and more places like that pop up, like sewing lounges, like places like Karyn, your Workroom. I think it's really neat that, businesses are, starting to go away, not just from that general, traditional sewing machine dealer, but kind of a place to gather and a place to hang out. And I think that's, again, a good way to try to get people interested in making things. So very, very, very neat. And I want to ask, so you both are entrepreneurs in your own right. You both have your own businesses. Can you kind of offer a little bit of insight? What's it been for you to have to start your own business, run your own business? What kind of advice or encouragement would you have to offer other people that might be interested in doing the same thing?
That's I know I'm a question.
Well, one of the reward levels is
like coaching with you, isn't it?
Coaching session, yeah. So if you have that question,
all right.
We've already, someone's already pledged one of them. So feel free, if you want to know more about this conversation, pick that one for sure. I always tell people that a business plan is really key, and most people say that you don't need a business plan unless you're going to go to the bank for money. But business plan is not so much about the finished document, but it's about so you consider all aspects of the business. And just take a little bit, you can get any business plan from any bank website or entrepreneurship kind of website. But if you go through it section by section and you actually just dedicate some thought and consideration and research to every single question, you'll have a much better understanding of the scope of putting together a business. So that's always what I tell people to do. And then, being realistic about managing expectations and then budgeting how much money or resources you need to put aside in order to start the business. Because a lot of people kind of transition. They could be working and start a business and then sort of work less and earn more through the business. So make sure that you kind of understand what your financial obligations are before you get going.
I think the best business advice that I got was before I even thought about starting the Workroom, but I always remembered it was it's a good idea to have more than one source of income for your business. So, you know, not just having a fabric store, but like teaching classes. And then we also rent machines here at the workroom. And then we have a bunch of different things that we do. And so all of those things work together to help feed the bigger part of the business. And I think it's important not to just put all of your eggs in one basket, as they say, and to have, you know, different opportunities for people to engage with your business.
That is solid advice. And I agree. I think having more than one source of revenue for anything you're doing on your own is good to do. And Jacqueline, I don't even know how I found this clip, but a while ago, I think I was doing research for your products or something. And I found a clip of you on the show Dragon's Den. Back in the day, which was like, I'm a huge Shark Tank fan. That was just super cool to see. That must have been an unreal experience.
It was. We got invited to go on the show, so we went more for exposure than financing. But it was a super intense. You know, we were there on the scene for over an hour and a half, being, you know, interviewed and talking with the dragons. And it was a great opportunity to really, you know, defend some serious questions that didn't end up on TV because they were pretty hardcore business questions. And then of course to watch how it's edited, because it is television, so it is edited. It is edited, so the dragons win. But it was a great opportunity for us, and it was great for the business. And we had a lot of people really, you know, yelling at their screens about why soap didn't get more love. But it was a great experience in terms of both learning and exposure for the brand.
Yeah, regardless, it's basically a free commercial for your company, so anybody should do it if you get the chance. And if you're not familiar at home, Dragon's Den is like the Canadian version of Shark Tank. And in fact, I think a couple of the sharks are Canadian, right? I think Robert Herjavec and then Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah. So it's also a good experience to have to, under pressure, camera obviously, talk about your business and being able to answer questions about financing and answer questions about growth and answer questions about strategy, because there were a lot of things that I learned from that experience as well. And it's always really good to get to have someone really ask you those tough questions. Because often when we're talking to ourselves about business development, we can kind of skirt around,
the tougher questions.
This zipper fits in the dress fine. You know, I can tweak that 1/4 of an inch on one side that doesn't quite line up with the other side. But in finances and in business, it's good to have someone who's going to say, take out the zipper and put it back in so it matches properly, because then your zippers will always be, you know, matching. So it's good to have the big guns poking some questions at you every now and then.
Yeah, I just thought it was so cool to have to see someone in this industry, this space, get that sort of, you know, TV attention. I thought that was pretty cool. I would love to see more sewing businesses or like making businesses on Shark Tank or Dragon's Den or other, you know, just getting more exposure in general. So that was super cool.
It's also really nice to be able to talk about the scale of our industry and our businesses, because they were all like, you know, what is this quilting thing you're talking about? Oh, I was like, oh, nothing, just a $34 billion industry in North America. That's all. Just because you don't know anything about it doesn't mean it's not a huge business. So I think that's what was really nice about the opportunity, is that, you know, maybe they could relate more to the lingerie side, but sewing and crafting is a massive industry, and knitting is also a massive industry in North America. And so to kind of be able to bring light to that, I think is really important, because we know that it is, but everyone else out there might not.
Yeah, it is kind of funny when you try to explain sewing or quilting or crafting to people that are unfamiliar. They have no idea like how big of a business it is. Or even if I'm talking to someone about sewing machine prices, they think $100 is an expensive machine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you haven't seen anything yet. So I think some things, like if you just, like you were saying, if you don't know anything about it, you know, people really have no idea about it. So I think it's really cool that you got that platform to be able to share a little bit about that space. And that's again why I do this channel, is because I was kind of tired of talking to people about like quilting or sewing and getting like their eyes would glaze over, or like, you know, they would ask you to make them a quilt and then they would offer you $50. So like, you know, I think there's a lot of misconceptions and just lack of knowledge about this space. So I think it's really cool whenever we get a chance to talk about it or share more, or, you know, it's definitely more of a long-term educational process that we really need to share with our family and friends.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. So again, I'm going to link your Kickstarter below. I'll link your websites if you guys are interested in picking up Handmade Getaway. The book is shipping out in a few months, correct?
Yeah, so it should go to print
March, April-ish. Yeah.
March, April.
Yeah. But we got to hit our fundraising goal first.
Yeah.
So,
Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right. And what is your fundraising goal at this point?
it's 50,000 Canadian, which translates to about 40,000 US, which is what it will cost us to get this book to print. So we have a technical editor going through the book now. So we're in the final phases of technical editing. The photography is done, the projects are done, the writing's all done and been edited. We have the printer lined up. It's going to be a beautiful first edition with all kinds of crazy things on it.
Fancy features.
They're all going to be individually numbered because first edition things should be.
We're making it very special for our Kickstarter supporters. So that's where you want to grab your copy of the book.
All right. Well, I'm definitely getting my copy and I cannot wait to get it. Maybe this will actually help me get myself in gear to like invite some people over to sew. And I also think this is a good opportunity if you do sew or craft or quilt and you want to maybe encourage your friends, have them over and teach them, do a simple project. The projects, from what I can tell, are very beginner friendly. So this is a good opportunity for you to try to almost do like outreach for this space.
We really did.
You definitely need it.
We really did not know each other well that weekend. I mean, and straight up between the three of us, like I'd met Karyn a handful of times because I was coming to Quilt Sunday and coming to events at the shop, and our dearest friend Catherine, I was like, I don't really know her, but Karyn seems to really like her and she seems great. Let's go. You're on the list, And I literally just picked, what's nice about meeting people through the workroom is that we all have different backgrounds, and we didn't know each other, and so to have something in common that you're passionate about is really great. And so I literally invited, 5 other women who I just thought, I've just met them. They seem amazing. They know way more than I do about this. They have really interesting lives, and I think that's what's held us together through our getaways is just our mutual respect and admiration for each other's both sewing skills and our life skills, really.
I mean, we probably may not have met if we didn't meet here.
For sure.
And then we wouldn't have this wonderful book either.
Getting all goosebumps. That's what the getaways are about, right? You don't have to have your sewing group already together. And even if you do decide that you want to sew on a Friday night, I mean, if the shops aren't open when you decide you want to head into a project, you need to have planned ahead of time exactly what you're going to do and make sure you have all the tools. So.
And I was just thinking this sort of getaway might be a great idea for like a bridal shower, a bachelorette party, special events. I was just reading this article about, how people are kind of annoyed with people that go to restaurant. They have parties at restaurants and then they have to figure out who's going to pay. This would be a great alternative to the traditional part. The traditional. Yes. Party,
there was recently a sewing day at the workshop where we all helped Catherine prep for her wedding. There were 2 neckties made. There were
cloth napkins
made, hankies. We all trimmed the edges of hankies, some table decor, and some dress finishings. Karyn made this beautiful dress to wear. So we definitely have those community events as well.
Oh, that's a great idea. So so maybe you could have friends over or they could help you make wedding favors or, something, again, and some of these things are kind of expensive buying linen napkins or buying some of these things. So if you can do that, all work together, maybe save some money too. But I do think, this might be a getaway like this to make things might be a great suggestion for the next special event you have, or you guys could do a baby shower. You could make things for the baby. You could all work on a quilt. There's so many things you could do with it that I think it's a really great idea to get sewing and crafting so much more social like this.
There's a community quilt. It's not really specifically a quilt, but more instructions on how to get together with a group of people to make a quilt, because we have done a lot of community quilts at the workroom for friends' weddings, for babies, for Karyn's 10-year anniversary. We managed to even sneak a quilt by her that tons of people participated in. So there's some instructions for how to put that kind of community project together in the book. And a getaway is a perfect opportunity for that because you have a few days. You can do the blocks, do the back, put it together, and finish it.
I'd like to see one of these where everyone makes a wedding dress for the bride. That'd be pretty. I mean, that could get a little.
There was a great
off the rails, but that would be pretty cool.
I didn't attend it because I was just about to have the twins, but Lizzie's wedding. You guys had a massive sew-in before Lizzie's wedding because a ton of beautiful women made their own dresses out of
Yeah, just
Yeah,
before
kind
Lizzie House got married, we all went to Utah for like maybe about 3 or 4 days before the wedding. All her bridesmaids made their own dresses, and Lizzie was working on her wedding dress, and
nice.
made like favors, and we did it like we rented a house through Airbnb, and we just did like a whole wedding prep week to get everything ready for the wedding, all handmade.
That sounds like a DIY bridesmaids dresses. That is cool. I like that idea. I very much like that. Well, thank you ladies again for joining us to talk about yourselves, your businesses, and this new book, Handmade Getaway. Again, I will link everything below. And guys, if you wanna pick up this book, Kickstarter is the only avenue, correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right. So guys, head to Kickstarter. And thank you again. This has been a very special edition of the Sewing Report. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoy these sewing chats, I've been enjoying doing them. So let me know what you think, and I may do more of these in the future.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.